Hey everyone, me Kevin here with your stimulus check and future stimulus package update for July 14th. Lauren, by the way, posted a new video on her channel, and remember that this video is sponsored by life insurance, both available in the links below next to the programs. The Post this morning reported that Republican lawmakers are tossing around ideas of cutting the unemployment boost to between $200 to $400 per week, substantially down from the $450 per week boost we had heard about a month ago. Quite frankly, I'm thinking about starting to refer to this as the $400 to $200 shrinkage rather than boost. But fear not, Republican lawmakers have indicated that they'd, quote, make up the boost to people. And you know how they'd make it up? By giving you the $1,200 stimulus check you were already promised. Let me phrase this a bit more clearly. Ooh, checks are popular for an election. How about we just screw the people on unemployment, shut down their businesses, and instead we just give them a second stimulus check. Oh, but wait, didn't Donald Trump already authorize or basically almost promise to the people that they should expect another stimulus check? Heck, he was bluntly asked, should the people expect another stimulus check? And he said yes. Aren't we just taking away stuff and then giving people stuff that we kind of promised them already? Oh well. That's literally what Congress is starting to feel like to me. At the same time, new actual educated data has come out from the University of Chicago and the University at California, Berkeley, finding no relationship between the $600 boost and the rate at which people actually go back to work, evidencing that this whole disincentive idea is overstated. Stephen Moore, a White House ally and writer, from citing numerous conversations at the White House, has said that the White House sees the $600 boost as, quote, really bad for the economy and the recovery. This is honestly starting to feel a little bit like the white church scene in the movie The Patriot, where all the rich people are outside and the people who need help get rounded up and put into the church. In case you haven't seen the movie, I encourage you to Google the Patriot church scene. Stephen Moore did, however, say something a bit more optimistic. He said that he'd prefer going back to the old unemployment program and instead just giving more payments to everyone. But remember to take this source for what it's worth. It's a source to listen to what's going on in the White House. And apparently what he's hearing in the White House is that the $600 boost is really bad. I'm not quite sure where he would have heard that from, but that's what he's telling us. Just because he is also telling us that his opinion is that we should get stimulus checks instead of unemployment pay doesn't actually mean anything, because he's a writer and maybe an ally of the White House. But hey, some might say that even Mel Gibson tried being nice to the British, but he didn't necessarily get what he wanted. Anyway, this is all coming at the same time as 53% of businesses think it'll take more than 6 months to recover. More than 1 million Americans are applying for jobless benefits each week. Only 57% of jobless claims have been processed, and with new shutdowns, it's entirely unclear if our old jobs will still be there for us. Well, in the meantime, CBS has reported that the World Health Organization has warned that there could be no return to normalcy anytime soon, as too many countries were bungling their response to the pandemic. I had to look that one up. Basically, bungling it means clumsy. So the World Health Organization is calling us clumsy, which if our response to this pandemic is defined as clumsy, then the Great Financial Crisis of 2008 and the Great Depression were just little snafus in our history. Orange County in California has voted to reopen schools with in-person instruction and no social distancing or mask requirements. It's now being called the Florida of California on Twitter. And to me, it's also starting to sound like our recovery is seeming a whole lot more like a every man and woman for themselves type of recovery. Soon, we'll just be called the States of America rather than the United States of America. Or worse, since people are now talking about the coronavirus pandemic becoming endemic to the United States, which means that it's a disease that really only ends up flourishing in one country, we might soon be known as the COVID States of America. But hey, at least Orange County will get that benefit and boost the funding from the White House because they're reopening their schools. Now, also remember that tomorrow is tax day, which means it's not only the day that we're supposed to pay taxes, file our tax returns by, and hopefully eventually get our tax returns, but it's also the last opportunity for you to deposit money into retirement accounts, including things like the Roth, the 401k, the SEP IRA, the HSA, and many others. Some of these would give you a nice tax deduction if you put money in. Obviously, always check with your personal CPA who can help you set these things up. And if you want excellent suggestions for building wealth, make sure to check out the summer coupon code below for the various programs to help you build your wealth. Most people, by the way, start with the 0 to millionaire group and go from there. Now, new reports suggest that Mitch McConnell and Republicans have been privately trading proposals with each other. When I first read that, I thought to myself, wow, which Yu-Gi-Oh cards are they trading on the playground? Instead, it looks like they're actually trading cards on a $1.3 trillion stimulus offer that somehow Democrats and Republicans are supposed to negotiate between July 20th and August 7th, which for normal Americans, that would be 15 working days if we take out the weekends. But for Congress, we could probably condense that down into 14 days of talking and working with lobbyists and 1 actual day of actually working. Unfortunately, Republicans will also have to negotiate with Democrats, whose current proposal is $3 trillion. Which I don't know about you, but if I was selling my house for $300,000 and somebody made me an offer for $130,000, I probably wouldn't be very happy. I'd be tempted to take some copper out of the plumbing system, and it would probably take me at least 10 days of angry tweets from Donnie to finally be convinced into a deal. In other words, expect some crazy volatility over the next few weeks. Now, supposedly, the good news is that we'll actually see what this offer entails by Monday, supposedly. And I'm going to talk about Mitch McConnell, but I do want to warn you, usually when we talk about Mitch, some of you complain about chest pain. And so I'm also going to encourage you to sign up for life insurance, which you can get in as little as 5 minutes. And while you're there, you may as well get 2 free stocks with Webull when you deposit just $100. You could get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,400. So Mitch McConnell told us, quote, nobody should have to face an epidemic of lawsuits on the heels of a pandemic, which obviously we've heard this before. He wants liability protections. Come on, this is old news. How many more times are we gonna hear the same thing said? But what I wanna know is why Mitch McConnell keeps saying we're on the heels of a pandemic, implying that we're the ones chasing the pandemic. I mean, that's almost like saying we're the only country in the world trying to just live with the pandemic while everybody else is trying to get rid of it. But that'd be crazy. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi's seat in the House of Representatives is being challenged by a Democrat who says that Pelosi just isn't progressive enough. He's a self-described democratic socialist who aspires to be another Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I always trip up on her name. AOC, by the way, is the one who's been calling for defunding the police and says that when the police will be defunded, everything will be just like the suburb she grew up in. Except she grew up in a wealthy town of 1,700 people that's 90% white and has a median family income of $137,500. Mitch McConnell responded to this defunding the police argument by saying, quote, that this was an absurd suggestion and a, quote, extreme overreaction. In the meantime, I want to pull up a graphic from the Financial Times to help you understand this pandemic. Take a look at this graphic here. Blue means no lockdown, really before the pandemic or while China was dealing with it. Yellow and orange mean some lockdowns, and purple and dark purple mean extreme lockdowns. Pay attention here for a moment as I move the scale. And what I want you to consider is how many of these countries end up going into this 75% plus tile where they're really locking down their country. You can notice here we've got Italy, Germany, Peru, Bolivia, Russia even, a lot of different countries are completely locking down to eliminate or control this pandemic. And then you can see the loosening occur as countries begin to loosen their lockdowns. Something to consider, though, is that there are only 2 countries that had substantial outbreaks that didn't go into the reddish or purplish lockdown territory. And those are countries like Canada and the United States. Except Canada gave all of their citizens $2,000 per month to stay home, and the United States gave us $10 per day for 4 months. Unless, of course, you're rich, well, then you got millions. The Financial Times also said that Paris is having a giant street party and people are now dining and sipping their espresso in the streets of Paris with traffic shut down. At the same time, Kayleigh McEnany, who was kind enough to tweet this morning that Trump is taking historic action as Trump is sending personnel and supplies to the hard-hit states. Well, to me, I think July 20th is going to be historic. because it's going to be a day that Congress works. In the meantime, I've asked Lauren to stock up on our cereal supplies as our state is officially locking down, and well, now despair is beginning to set in as it looks like we might be stuck in this house for another 4-month cycle. We're not very happy about that. Thank you so much for watching. Consider getting your life insurance. Look out those programs down below to educate yourself on how to build your wealth. Consider getting 2 free stocks with Webull, and folks, we will see you next time.